I've got peace in a river like my soul. It's the second Sunday of Advent, the 4 weeks leading up to Christmas, when we prepare to birth our awareness of our divine nature. Now, you can't make this up. This was my angel card this morning. Can you see it? Birth. This invites me to ask, what am I envisioning my birth to be? And what are you? Because at this point, it's pure potential. We began the process last Sunday by celebrating hope and faith. This morning, we recognize peace. So watch as Sheila symbolically lights the candle of peace. And let's affirm what's now on the screen together. I remember I can always choose peace. Well, now what is peace to each of us? I think of it as the eye of the storm, the calm in the center of everything that's swirling around me, that's out there, and I'm here, and I'm okay. Mother Teresa said, peace begins with a smile. The book of Job 22:21 says, agree with God and be at peace. In this way, good will come to you. And in The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom, an old woman says, you have peace when you make it with yourself. So that sounds easy enough. We can choose, we can smile, we can agree with God, we can make it within ourselves. And then isn't it easy to watch that peace train leave the station without you on it? The story for today in the Unity Advent booklet, which you can download, the link is in the newsletter. It's full of great stories and poems and inspiration. But in the Advent booklet for today, it's the story of a woman who watched her peace train leave the station without her on it. She found she was so focused on producing the perfect Christmas, and that the more she did and the harder she tried, the more irritable and less peaceful she became. Who can relate to that? Even in church, she said all she could focus on was even hearing the quiet of all is calm, all is bright. She could only think of all the things she had to do when she got home. But then as I call them little gifts from the angels, as God is often to do, she got a little gift. When she was outside, she noticed how quiet and still the night was. And she saw how beautiful the colors and the lights shone against the white snow. And she realized, the way she put it, is that she had sacrificed her peace on the altar of perfection. Who of us has done that a time or two? She said she realized that peace isn't perfection, it's presence. For me, it's that idea of you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs. We hear over and over again in Unity that peace is an inside job. Charles Fillmore wrote, I can be peaceful inside, regardless of what is happening outside. When I focus, and that's the key word, when I focus on peace, worries and troubles melt away. Well, developing focus is one more aspect of life that requires discipline. We don't usually associate peace and discipline, at least I don't, but they are a team. And in fact, I think discipline is on a lot of teams, but we tend to bench it more than we play it, which maybe isn't the best way to go about things. This morning, Unity Minister Reverend Roxanne is guiding us in an exploration of peace and how discipline can strengthen our peace. So I'm very excited, and I know you are too, to welcome Reverend Roxanne Buckle. Good morning, Reverend Roxanne.
Good morning, Brenda. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Brenda. I'm feeling so nourished by your words and by Anne's prayer that she read. And, because this is a time as we go into the meditation. Meditation is a time for us to focus, exactly what Brenda said, to, quiet our minds so that we can get into a place of remembering our divine nature. And so in a moment, the relaxation phase of the meditation, we're going to be, as we prepare, going to be playing a beautiful song. As Brenda mentioned, at this time, it's Advent. We are preparing to birth the awareness of our Christ consciousness, and the divine quality of peace is absolutely the foundational piece piece to all of that. And I love the prayer that Anne shared, because without peace, we can't have love, we can't have joy. And so this is why in Advent, there's like a build, right? And so peace is so foundational, and it comes from within. So this song is about staying centered in turbulent times. It's a gorgeous piece and is in Spanish and English, so you're not surprised. And so I invite you to relax into this present moment and listen to this beautiful song by Stowe Daly and Karen Taylor Good, two beautiful New Thought singers. So Sheila, if I can ask you to just play the song now, and invite you all to just get as comfortable as you can, and knowing that we will be hearing this song again after the end of the lesson as well. Okay.
Hoy yo vuelvo al centro, mi paz fluye ya, se rinde mi alma, solo siento paz. Bring me back to center. Bring me back to flow. Now my soul surrenders. Peace is all I know. Solo siento paz. Solo siento paz. Hoy y siempre sano soy. Solo siento paz. Bring me back to knowing. Peace is letting go. Love is overflowing. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. In this moment I am home. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. Peace is all I know. In this moment I am home. Peace is all I know. Hoy y siempre sano soy. Peace is all I know.
And as we continue to journey within to that place where we can settle our minds, connect with the knowing of our divine nature, I invite you, if you haven't already done so, to close your outer eyes or just lower your gaze as we turn within, and let my words be your words. Bring me back to center. I withdraw my attention from the conditions of this human experience. I don't deny what's happening out there, but I choose a gentle shift in my awareness I take time and space from out there and become present to what is real and absolute and unchanging within me. My knowing of the quality of peace within. And as thoughts of what is happening out there arise, I just notice them and let them dissolve, knowing that I can tend to them later. And I return back to my breath or an affirmation, such as I am peace. Bring me back to flow. With my body still and my mind becoming more and more settled, I remember I reveal and I express that which is always there, that quality of peace. I surrender, I let go. I let go of needing things out there to be different, and instead continue to shift moment by moment into a greater and greater awareness of that which I am, regardless of outer circumstances. I am peace. And in that knowing of peace, I am love. I am joy. I am. I am. I am. And in this moment, I am whole. I am always whole. And in this moment, I am aware that I am whole. And in this moment, I am whole. And peace is all that I know. In this moment, I am whole. And peace is all that I know. And I enter a time of sacred silence in the knowing I remember I can always choose peace. I remember I can always choose peace in the silence. And in this moment, I am whole. Peace is all that I know. In any moment, I can choose peace. In that realization, in that knowing, I return. I return my attention to this time and this space, knowing that as a spiritual being having a human experience, I can navigate the both and from that place of peace. And so I give thanks for these teachings, for this time with fellow truth students in that knowing, with a renewed understanding of that, all that I am, all that you are, all that we are. For all of these blessings, say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen. Good morning. I just want to have a little peek at who's all here. Feel free to, if you're comfortable, turn on your camera. Hello, everybody. I see faces from all over. In addition to our Unity Ottawa folk, I see people from Kitchener, and my goodness, is there people from Windsor and Unity York region? Oh, one of the blessings of doing services online. So good morning, everyone. This is a time when there's so much, right, about peace. There's so much sung about peace and said about peace and, peace on earth, goodwill to all. It's just one of those words, one of those feelings too. Brenda mentioned about the snow and the story of the woman who had, sacrificed her peace at the altar of perfection until she was walking through the evening and saw the lights. And isn't that the way sometimes something outside of us can just cause us to remember, right? The Christmas lights, the blanket of snow on the ground. I was saying to Sheila this morning as we were walking, everything just feels more peaceful, when there's a blanket of snow, the quiet, and then the lights in the evening. It's one of the blessings of having the shorter days is the Christmas lights come on sooner in the day. So, we have all these symbols of peace, right? We've got like the star. There's a star that guides us to peace, and all of these metaphysical symbols as well. And of course, this is one of my favorite Christmas ornaments. We have the angels, which are messengers, right? Which are divine ideas reminding us about peace. And then of course, because it's Advent, we've got the birth of Jesus being the symbol of peace, right? The Prince of Peace. And this is what Advent is, right? This time leading up to the birth of Jesus in traditional Christianity. And I'm going to put my props away. And of course, in Unity, we talk about Advent being the coming, the arrival of our remembering, our knowing, our birthing of our Christ consciousness. So I came across that song as I was exploring for this lesson, and I just really fell in love with that song because it's sort of a chant. It really connects to the core idea that we teach in Unity about peace, is that peace is within, no matter what is happening in that outer world. So what I decided to do was, if you can bear with me, I decided to take that song and thought that we could unpack the song a little bit, and in that way for the Sunday lesson, just to have a bit of a deeper understanding of what we mean by peace is within. So I'm going to share a few slides as we do that. And let me just I'll get back to the beginning here. And so first of all, I'll put the words to the key words to the song, right? Bring me back to center. Bring me back to flow. Now my soul surrenders. In this moment, I am whole, and peace is all I know. So we're going to just unpack that a little bit because it's so rich rich. It is so rich with meaning and with reminders. So this idea of bring me back to center, bring me back to flow, it begs the question, right? Like, where am I if I'm asking to be brought back to center? Well, you know, as spiritual beings having a human experience, there is so much out there, right? That can pull us away from center, can pull us away from our remembering that we are divine, that we are individualized expressions of the one power and the one presence. And we get hooked, right? I mean, I do, you know, and it's okay. It happens. Even little things like I was just so enjoying the snow and then I got out of the present moment and I was like, oh yeah, but it's going to rain tomorrow and B+9. So it's all going to turn to, you know, it's like, whoa, it's so insidious, right? It's like, no, present moment, I'm going to enjoy this. So it's just, it can be big things and even little things that take us off our center. And how we can fall back into those conditioned egoic patterns of judging, of thinking, oh no, if the snow would stay, then I would be at peace, if my boss, gives me a raise, then I'll be at peace. If that person could stop being annoying, then I'll be at peace. If the government could stop et cetera, et cetera. And, and as spiritual beings, as we've talked about and sung about and meditated and prayed about so far today, the peace that we're talking about is a divine quality. And it's one that's not dependent on the outer conditions. And so we would call that unconditional peace, right? No matter what is happening out there. And one of the aspects of the discipline, and more about discipline later, so thank you for touching on it, Brenda. One of the aspects of the discipline of inner peace is the sorting through, right? That we have to do of what is of spirit and what is of the human condition. So we have a parable of Jesus's. Jesus taught in parables and in stories, and this was one of his parables from Matthew. And he said, the kingdom of heaven is like a net that was thrown into the sea and caught fish of every kind. When it was full, they drew it ashore, they sat down and put the good into baskets, but threw out the bad. And so we know that, metaphysically, the kingdom of heaven is that is within our control. The kingdom of heaven is the knowing of our Christ consciousness and living from that. And so, as Charles Fillmore said, this is like a parable explaining how our mind works, right? The mind of man is like the net, catching every kind of idea. Oh, it's raining. I wish it was snowing. Oh, that person's so annoying, da, 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 da. And it is man's privilege and duty under the divine law to separate those that are good from those which are not good. And that's a quote. I could pick apart his languaging, but we won't do that. So, and we know in our humanness, we judge good from not good. And we know, and what we're talking about here is separating divine ideas from human egoic ideas. Okay. And so and that's our job, right? As Brenda mentioned, peace is an inside job. Anybody familiar with that game Whack-A-Mole? Like it comes up, whack, but another one comes up over there and whack. So, you got this whole like, oh, there's a piece of that, oh, here's an annoying person. Oh, there's a piece of bad news. Oh, I have to get a car repair. Oops, I don't have enough money. Oh, I wish it was snowing instead of raining, and doesn't the world outside get a lot of our attention? We spend a lot of our mind obsessing about the outer. And we know through spiritual practices like denials, denying the power that something has over us, and affirmations, affirming the truth, the spiritual truth, we can eventually create more space in our minds, so that time between stimulus and response widens, and the time between when those moles pop up to be whacked seems to be, we haven't really changed the outer, we've changed our relationship to the outer. So it seems that there's fewer moles popping up to be whacked, and what it really is we're more centered and focused on not giving it as much attention. So coming back to center, bringing me back to flow, is really about noticing, and then in the present moment, engaging those spiritual practices like prayer, like meditation, which help us remember our divine nature, and then expressing from that and not not from a place of outside in, not needing to control and change the outer. Doesn't mean we never want to do action in the outer. It's just like, as Unity's fifth principle, notice it's the last, because we do all this inner work so that we can express our divine nature in right action, right? And so there, and the reason peace is included in Advent, and this was so beautifully articulated again in the opening prayer, is that as divine beings, it is our nature to be at peace, and it's foundational for then those qualities of love and joy which come, and it really is our nature. It's not our nature to be in constant anxiety and despair of the world around us and what's happening, and yet we do, because we are living a human experience and we have conditioning. And so the next part of the song, it's about, now my soul surrenders. In this moment, I am whole. And so it's important to realize that peace isn't about an absence of conflict and chaos and challenge. I know everybody likes it when there's less stuff happening out there to hook us, but the peace we talk about here is not about that. It isn't about needing the outer to be more peaceful for me to be peaceful. It isn't an absence of trouble, but a peace that exists in spite of the trouble. And it's not pretending there isn't a problem or a situation needing our attention. I have to fit this in almost in every lesson, because I find myself doing it. It can be tempting to spiritually bypass, to just ignore or pretend it's not there. That's not peace. That's psychological denial. And that's a false kind of peace. So I just want to, surrender is about allowing whatever's happening out there to happen and letting it go, not being hooked by it, accepting it, doing your work, to not needing to control or rearrange, and knowing that the only person I can change is me. And that it's an inside job, and that it happens first within and then in the outer. And when we're not so focused on trying to change the outer, it opens us up to learn another way to shift our consciousness. Now my soul surrenders. I want to talk a minute about the word soul. This is very key. Whether the writers of the song intended it, I love it that it's there. Okay. In Unity metaphysics, soul is part of the threefold being of consciousness, and the threefold being of man, if you will. Soul is that part of us which is consciousness. So there's spirit, soul, body, or the spiritual realm, the realm of consciousness, the mind, and then the realm of the physical, the body. And so consciousness is that part of us that it can pivot. So we have this beautiful thing that it so excites me, because it really is all about our ability to pivot, to make a choice, so that we're focused on the spiritual realm instead of being so focused. I do this because the pivotal nature of consciousness, right? So we can pivot, we can focus on what's happening out there and be a victim and, oh, woe is me. And that will land us in victim consciousness. I don't like victim consciousness. It may feel good for a few minutes as I get into the drama of it and forget who I am, but victim consciousness is not a healthy spiritual place to be. I don't like it. But then I remember, and I can shift consciousness. I can use my tools to shift consciousness so that I am in verity consciousness, which is a much higher realm of being. It's more creative, more expansive, more free, more peaceful. And so we have that ability through the power of will to make that choice. And that just excites me that we have that. It's both, it's empowering, but it means it also can be a little bit like, oh, I guess I can't stay. I don't want to stay in victim consciousness for very long. And the longer we've been on this journey, we notice people that are maybe not on the spiritual journey and how much in victim consciousness they are. And I'm like, God, I used to be like that. And that's okay. I bless them. I don't try to change anybody, but I know for myself, it's such a more peaceful, more freeing place to be in verity consciousness. And so again, spiritual practices like denials and affirmations and prayer and meditation are all here to assist us in making that pivot and taking that moment to just make that shift. And it is a constant moment by moment process. It's not a one-time thing. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have this epiphany that I'm peace, and then suddenly everything's going to change. It's in constantly being a truth student, in constantly having that self-awareness, that power of observing when I'm getting hooked by outer circumstances, and it requires discipline. And I don't know about you, but yikes, have I ever had a weird relationship with the word discipline? And how many of us are allergic to that word? But in fact, and Brenda touched on this, discipline is actually a word that is quite useful and beautiful in this context, the discipline of peace. And it comes from the Latin word discipulus, which means pupil. And you can hear that that's almost like disciple, right? And a disciple is one who receives instruction from another. And so in modern times, discipline has had a bit of negative connotations, sort of as they need to be disciplined, or we need to apply more discipline to this. And it's a little bit of that energy of chastisement or punishment, right? No, it's about moment by moment being a disciple. You know, we often say we are students of truth, right? Here in Unity, we're studying truth, we're students of truth, and Jesus is our way shower or the teacher, and that makes us disciples, and that's kind of exciting. And there's so many instances in the Bible where Jesus gathers up or is teaching his disciples something, or the disciples are asking for his guidance. And you know, one of the most famous relating to peace, of course, is the stormy boat scene, right? They're in the boat, and the disciples are in the boat with Jesus, and Jesus is sleeping, right? He's just like all relaxed and in the silence, which metaphysically just means he's in touch with his divine nature. And the disciples are getting all worried because there's a storm arising, right? And they're being battered by the winds and the storm, and they look at him and they're like, "Hey, dude, what's your problem? Like, how can you sleep through this? Look at us." And they're all, of course, disciples are they're representing at that point, because they can represent metaphysically the pivotal nature of consciousness. At that point, they're focused on the outer, right? And Jesus is like, he wakes up and he's like, "Peace, be still," you know, which is really our I am, right? Like our ability to touch that Christ consciousness within and say no to those storms that are outside of us, whether it's a challenging health condition or a bad bank account, a dwindling bank account, or an annoying person. And you know, so and also related to our capacity to be peace, there's a short but really, really, I just love this piece of scripture that occurs. It's around when actually Jesus is about to end his human life. His human life is about to be ended, right? So, you know, nearing death is a pretty challenging situation, right? It's kind of the ultimate challenging situation in the physical, right? Physical death. And the disciples are confused and they're afraid. So again, metaphysically, you know, all the Bible stories, all the characters represent aspects of us, my evolving consciousness, your evolving consciousness. And so, you know, so here's this scene where Jesus, which represents the I am, right? Our divine nature, is comforting the disciples, just like how when we return to our divine nature through prayer, we can comfort ourselves with the knowing of truth. And so Jesus says to them, you know, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled and do not be afraid." And so the idea here is there's a worldly type of peace, which, yeah, I mean, I love it when my kids are all happy and not stressing out about their thesis. And I prefer nice weather, and I prefer the stock market to be good, and I prefer there not to be divisions about, you know, what's going on. And that's the worldly peace, you know, and he says, I'm giving you the peace that passeth all understanding, right? It's not dependent on outer conditions. So there's not this sense like, I'll be peaceful when and if my kids finish their thesis. I'll be peaceful when the boss gives me a raise, or my health improves, or when the government stops telling me et cetera, et cetera. No, those are temporary, changing, and permanent conditions in the physical realm. And the good thing about this is the good news. I'm going to give the tidings of good news here is there's nothing we have to get. It's within us. Peace is a part of us. And like most of what goes on in our spiritual journey, it's more like taking away, right? Because we're born in original blessing. We're born with this aspect of divine nature, and then we take on all these ideas and judgments and And now we're just gonna let those go, and we know that we can be that instrument of peace. And so finally, through being disciples, we get to that place. We get to that place where peace is all I know. And the idea again is we live our lives from the inside out. And Jesus is the Prince of Peace, right? Like us, a spiritual being having a human experience. He came to show us, to demonstrate that peace is a divine quality born in us. We're born of original blessing, right? And so we can all be those peacemakers, but it starts by being an individual peacemaker, knowing that our peace is within. And Charles Fillmore said from The Revealing Word that a peacemaker is one who has the ability to say peace to the turbulent waves of thought and have them obey. A peacemaker is one who reduces to peace and harmony all the thoughts of strife, anger, and retaliation in his own mind. The ability to say peace to thoughts and have them obey. So nothing in there is about changing the outer, right? Change in the outer. Nothing. It's a reminder that true peace comes not from out there, but from in here. And our physical experience will give us lots of chances to be practicing that. Lots of chances to be practicing that. And at this time of year, in all our spiritual journeys, there are angels declaring a divine idea in every moment for us to remember peace on earth. And we become different in that shift. Our words are different. Our actions are different. We are changed, how we show up in every moment, in every conversation, in more and more thoughts, to get to a place where peace is all I know. So let's claim it now. I want to play the meditations, the song that we did leading into meditation, because with that maybe newer and deeper understanding, I would invite you from a place of just being more alert and aware to just really take in this song, sing along to it, do some claiming, do some affirming. Oh, sorry. I think I did something.
You pressed your mouse.
Yeah, okay, hang on. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay. I'm not sure how what I'm gonna do.
Share the screen again.
Is that coming through now?
Share this. No, share the screen. You're not sharing the screen anymore.
Okay, I can't seem to. Sorry about that. I am so sorry. Okay. Okay. It's okay. I'm gonna.
Need help?
No, I think I'm good. Okay. I think I was trying to mute myself and I can't do that. Okay. Take two.
Hoy yo vuelvo al centro, mi paz fluye ya, se rinde mi alma, solo siento paz. Bring me back to center. Bring me back to flow. Now Peace is all I know. Hoy siempre